Good morning, everybody. Just want to make sure first, before we get started, that you can hear me. So if you could make a note in the chat box, if the sound is okay, that'd be great, please. All good. Perfect. All right, so good morning and thanks for joining me this morning for this morning's webinar, Ergonomics, Protecting the Aging Workforce. I'm Cheryl Osborne, MSI Prevention Advisor with WorkplaceNL. Today's webinar is part of the Health and Safety Learning Series program designed and delivered by staff at WorkplaceNL to increase the education and awareness of occupational health and safety and return to work in the workplace. The workshops and webinars address the injury priorities and fulfill the strategic mandate of WorkplaceNL. Today's webinar is part of the learning series and also part of the Move Well, Work Well week package. Serving approximately 215,000 workers and 18,000 employers, WorkplaceNL administers an employer-funded, no-fault insurance system that provides safe and healthy workplaces, provides return-to-work programs, and offers compensation to injured workers and their dependents. WorkplaceNL has 3 lines of business: education on the prevention of workplace injuries, illnesses, and occupational disease, claims management for injured workers, and employer assessments or insurance coverage. Before we get started, in the handouts section, you'll find a PDF copy of today's presentation that you can download and use for future reference. Asking questions is encouraged. I will answer your questions at the end of the presentation. You can ask a question by typing in the chat window. And if I do run out of time this morning, I will follow up with an email to answer your question. At the end of the webinar, Tina will send you out an evaluation form, and I encourage you to complete that because it helps us to develop better and more meaningful webinars. And please also include any topics of interest that you'd like to see us present on. Finally, every 30 minutes, I will ask you to take a micro break. I'll ask you to stand and stretch to move your body, and this gives your body the opportunity to get blood flowing back to tissues that have had reduced blood flow due to sustained sitting. So it'll just be for about a minute or two, and then we'll get back to the presentation. So today's topics. Canada's population is aging, according to Canada's Chief Public Health Officer, Dr. Theresa Tam, in a 2020 report titled Aging and Chronic Diseases, a Profile of Canadian Seniors on the Government of Canada's website. Many physical and cognitive changes take place as a person ages, and it's important that the physical and cognitive demands of a job not place older workers at an increased risk of injury. In today's webinar, we will look at the value of an aging workforce, why we should be concerned with aging workers, who is considered an older worker, at what age are we considered to fall into this category of the workforce, and age-related changes, as well as ergonomics and how its application can help protect the aging workforce from MSI and other injuries. So this week is Move Well, Work Well week, which was formerly known as Musculoskeletal Injury Prevention Week. It is a week that is set aside every September, the last full week of every September, to raise awareness about the impact of musculoskeletal injuries in the workplace and find practical solutions for prevention. So if you are sitting in on today's webinar, this may be one of the ways that you are participating in Move Well, Work Well week this year. Move Well, Work Well reminds us that when we move often, rather than being sedentary or staying in one position too long, and when we move well by using good body mechanics, it results in us being well and working well. We're productive, comfortable, healthy, and our risk for MSI is reduced. Essentially, when we move well, we work well. This week is intended for workplaces to dedicate time towards education and training on how to prevent repetitive strain and overexertion injuries in the workplace. For more information or for planning your campaign, please visit Move Well, Work Well Week webpage on our website. You will also find on our website an employer feedback survey. So for those of you in the room, if you haven't already done so, who is an employer representative today, I encourage you to just take a couple of minutes to, really it can be done in like 1 minute, 2 minutes, to complete the survey, and you have the option of leaving your contact information to be entered into a prize draw, but that's completely optional to leave your contact information. Nonetheless, we do want to hear from employers. We want to hear about how you're marking the week, as well as how we may be able to assist you in planning a campaign in the future. All right, so the value of an aging workforce. Many workplaces are focused on attracting millennial workers today, hoping to hire and retain them, keeping them satisfied and engaged in their jobs. But we can't lose sight of the value of older workers. The aging workforce is a powerful force that provides tremendous value to a business and a force that deserves protection. Many older workers are extremely skilled and results-driven, making them highly productive and strong contributors to a business's success. Many have spent years working in their field, and they bring to their workplace a significant amount of know-how. They tend to have positive work values and strong work ethic and are professional and reliable. In general, studies report that older workers exhibit lower turnover, more dedication to the workplace, and have more positive work values. Absenteeism tends to be less frequent, although absences do tend to be longer when it is due to injury or chronic diseases, chronic illnesses, and that's in relation to our age-related changes, which we will get into. Studies have not shown there is any consistent relationship between aging and performance at work. If there is poor work performance, probable reasons might be related to more so lack of recognition or the belief that their work isn't valued, high job stress, or lack of support. And it's important to remember that these situations, which may lead to poor work performance, can happen at any age. Some studies have indicated that older workers tend to work more slowly and are less quick to make decisions. However, these age-related changes may, in fact, be balanced out by the fact that older workers tend to be more accurate in their work. They tend to make more correct decisions compared to their younger colleagues who make decisions more quickly. Losing the expertise of these older workers could have a negative impact on a company's operations. That is why it's so important to accommodate the aging workforce to ensure their continued safe and productive work performance. Why be concerned with aging workers? Well, Canada's labor force is becoming much older and more diverse. The economy is experiencing a wave of baby boomers entering or soon to enter retirement. The unfortunate reality for many baby boomers, however, is that full-time retirement is not financially viable. As a result, many need to continue working on at least a part-time basis to continue to support themselves. The traditional retirement age of 65 is becoming blurred. Some retire before that, yet others work into their 70s and 80s, especially in part-time positions. Life expectancy and the number of older people is increasing. People are working longer, and with that comes aging bodies in the workplace that may not be able to tolerate the same kinds of work that their younger bodies once did without enduring some discomfort or pain. The median age of the Newfoundland and Labrador work population, not work population, just to back up to make sure I'm clear, the median age of the Newfoundland and Labrador population is increasing. Median is described as the numerical value separating the higher half of a sample from the lower half. So half of the people are younger and half of the people are older. In 1991, the median age of the Newfoundland population was 30.8 years of age, and now in 2020, it's 47.4. And for many, age-related physical changes have already begun by the age of 47. For all of these points stated, it is imperative that employers and ergonomists consider older workers in job design. Am I an older worker? So that's a question you may be asking yourself. And in fact, I've asked myself. But there is no exact commonly recognized age at which someone is considered an older worker. The aging process is a very individual thing. Some studies focus on people older than 55, while others look at people aged 45 and older. WorkplaceNL uses the following age groups for their statistics: ages 15 to 24 years, ages 25 to 44 years, and age 45 plus years. So let's just look at a few statistics for Canada and Newfoundland and Labrador. In 2015, 1 in 5 Canadians aged 65 and older, or nearly 1.1 million seniors, reported working during the year. This is the highest proportion recorded since the 1981 census. Of the seniors who worked in 2015, about 30% did so full year, full time. The percentage of seniors who reported working nearly doubled between 1995 and 2015, with most of the increase coming from part year or part-time work. Seniors with a bachelor's degree or higher and those without private retirement income were more likely to work than other seniors. Senior men who worked full year, full time, were most commonly managers in agriculture, retail and wholesale trade managers, transport truck drivers, retail salespersons, and janitors, caretakers, and building superintendents. Senior women who worked full year, full time, were most commonly administrative assistants, managers in agriculture as well, administrative officers, retail salespersons too, general office support workers, and again, retail and wholesale trade managers. Across the country, seniors living in rural areas were more likely to work than seniors living elsewhere. In 2016, individuals aged 55 and over accounted for 36% of the Canadian working age population, the highest proportion on record since the compilation of comparable statistics in 1976. By the year 2026, that proportion could reach 40%, says Statistics Canada in a 2017 report. In the healthcare industry in Canada, workers who are providing healthcare to an increasingly older population are themselves aging. For instance, among registered nurses and registered psychiatric nurses, the largest occupation related to healthcare, about 1 in 5 was aged 55 and older in 2016, compared with less than 1 in 10 in 1996, 20 years before. Canadian healthcare professions are aging rapidly, and this is where we are seeing the majority of MSIs in Newfoundland and Labrador. The changing demographics of the Canadian workforce deserve careful consideration moving forward. In today's business environment, it is essential for companies to engage their aging workers in a job that promotes healthy and safe work performance. Addressing the issue of the aging workforce with workplace ergonomics programs and education and training is becoming more and more necessary. A focus on proactive efforts to accommodate the chronologically gifted workforce today will result in a safer, healthier, and more productive and more competitive business tomorrow and down the road. Now let's turn to injury data from WorkplaceNL. In Newfoundland and Labrador, the young workers age group, 15 to 24 years of age, is experiencing the fewest number of soft tissue injury or musculoskeletal injury claims, and that includes both lost time and medical aid claims. Their claims accounted for just 12% of the soft tissue injuries claims in 2020. The percentage claims in the middle age group, 25 to 44 years, equate to a little more than 40% of all soft tissue injury claims each year on average, and we are seeing a slight downward trend in this age group. The older age group, however, ages 45 plus, account for the highest percentage of total soft tissue injury claims every year, averaging almost 49% each year from 2014 to 2020. To put it in another way, Almost 1 in 2 workers suffering from soft tissue injuries each year are aged 45 and older. These injuries are so serious that these workers could not return to work the next day and/or they required medical treatment. In the last 4 years, the percentage of soft tissue injury claims among the older worker age group were higher than all 4 years prior. Most studies say, though, that older workers tend to have fewer accidents. But when an older worker does get injured, that their injuries are often more severe and may take longer to recover. Bear in mind that the statistics just provided from WorkplaceNL on the previous slide are soft tissue injuries only and don't represent data from total claims or all types of claims in Newfoundland and Labrador. The types of injuries experienced by young workers compared to the aging workforce can be different. Younger workers tend to get more eye or hand injuries, while older workers who have been working for many years report more back injuries. Many WorkplaceNL soft tissue injuries or musculoskeletal injuries, we use the terms interchangeably, are the result of doing the same things again and again. Repetitive motion injuries, for example, develop over time. An older worker then may report more musculoskeletal injuries since they've had a longer time for the condition to develop. So what is a musculoskeletal injury, or MSI for short? An MSI is an injury or disorder of muscles, tendons, ligaments, joints, nerves, blood vessels, or related soft tissues. They include sprains, strains, and inflammation, as well as a host of other injuries and disorders. Some examples are tendinitis, carpal tunnel syndrome, epicondylitis, a pinched nerve, various back disorders such as a herniated disc, sciatica, and many, many more. They can occur anywhere in the body, but often involve the back. That's the most common body part injured with an MSI, but also often involve shoulders, necks, elbows, and wrists. MSIs can result from a single traumatic event, such as lifting a load that's too heavy, or they can develop gradually over time as a result of cumulative damage to a body's tissue, such as repetitively working overhead to do your work with your arm in that awkward posture on a repetitive basis. There are many different signs and symptoms of MSIs, and they can range from minor discomfort to severe pain. Some common signs and symptoms include pain, aches, tenderness, soreness that impact day-to-day activities, tightness, stiffness, numbness, redness or swelling, shooting or burning sensations. Many people believe that MSIs relate only to the office environment, but that is so far from the truth because MSI hazards are common in every industry and occupation. It is the number one type of injury in all occupations in our province. MSI risk factors. So when we're assessing the risk of MSI to older workers, we must seek to identify the presence of any workplace risk factors in the work they do and understand how aging might influence the risk in each factor. Recall, an aging worker has potentially experienced a longer time of exposure to the workplace risk factors, such as repetitive motions, for example. Consider the impact that standing on one's feet all day, sustained postures, might have on an aging body. It would likely be more fatiguing and stressful on an aging body, and the worker might have a more difficult time tolerating long durations. This is where we could put proactive measures in place to prevent discomfort and fatigue, such as anti-fatigue matting, a chair to properly support the worker to be able to sit for relief, frequent micro breaks, and possibly the flexibility for the worker to take more frequent breaks as needed. Recall in the statistics section, seniors who worked full-time, full year, were commonly employed in administrative and management roles as retail salespersons and in janitorial-related occupations. These jobs present MSI risk factors such as repetitive motions and a lot of standing on the feet all day, or sitting for a lot of the day. Making sure that we have the proper supports in place is important. Things like properly fitted chairs to support the worker's body, one that provides arm support to be able to rest the arms when they work with their hands, for example, when they're typing. Anti-fatigue matting at checkouts and other areas where static standing takes place. Giving workers control over the order of the tasks to break up prolonged sitting and repetitive motions, and the freedom to take micro breaks as needed. In addition to workplace risk factors, each worker also brings factors that are of a strictly personal nature to the table. These include our state of health or fitness, our lifestyle, our posture, and our work habits. Some of the personal characteristics among the aging workforce bode well in the favor of MSI prevention. For example, an aging worker may be more likely to comply with safe work practices, such as wearing personal protective equipment or using mechanical handling aids. However, on the contrary, an aging worker's state of health may place them at an inherent disadvantage. With age, physical and cognitive changes is inevitable. Seniors are more likely to have a chronic disease that could impact their risk for MSI, such as diabetes. Age-related change. Our bodies change as we age. People reach full physical maturity or development at around the age of 25 years. Then, after a period of relative stability, our bodies begin to show signs of aging. Most of these changes are first noticed at ages 40 or 50 for some, but changes can occur or start as early as age 20 or 25. As workers age, their physical, physiological, and psychosocial capabilities and limitations change. The more we understand these age-related changes, the better we can improve the workplace to accommodate the aging workforce. Despite the fact, though, that some changes are inevitable with increasing age, it is important to know that there are factors that can influence an individual's aging process, such as poor nutrition, physical inactivity, and personal habits. These are some age-related changes that occur, and we will go through each piece of the pie one by one. Starting with visual changes. As people age, their eyes change. Note the use of prescription glasses, notably bifocals and trifocals, with increasing age. We will have reduced visual field with age, noticing that we cannot see or read from certain distances as well as we used to. Things appear less clear or more fuzzy. Note, though, that our reduction in ability to see or adjust focus in certain distance ranges can normally be corrected with prescription glasses. Changes also occur in our peripheral visual field as we age, where we are not able to see as well in the areas to the side of us that we're not directly looking at. Our ability to distinguish between colors such as blue and green is also decreased. This is important to consider when creating safety signage and instructions. Someone might also notice that they can't see as well when they're reading something with small text size, or when there is poor contrast between the text and the background. This makes reading more difficult. Brighter lighting that is suitable for the task and well laid out documents which avoid small print are important. Our depth perception, how far away things seem, also gets distorted. We become more sensitive to glare and generally experience a longer time recovering from glare. We have greater difficulty adjusting to changing light levels, with older people's eyes adjusting more slowly. These changes are normally not noticed by a person unless there is poor lighting or there are sources of glare. Incidence of cataracts, glaucoma, and macular degeneration also increase. Age-related macular degeneration is damage or breakdown of the macula, a small central point of the light-sensing retina that processes the sharp central vision used for reading and similar detailed tasks. The amount, rate, and age of onset of deterioration vary widely among the visual functions. Deterioration in static acuity is not significant before age 60, whereas deterioration in the more complex tasks, such as acuity for a moving object, dynamic acuity, detection of lateral motion, and detection of in and out movement, begins more earlier and accelerates faster with increasing age. The age-related average deterioration is accompanied by a marked increase in individual differences. In any case, deterioration of visual functions can place older people at an increased risk of injury. Hearing changes. The threshold of hearing loss rises progressively with age. Age-related hearing loss is most marked at higher frequencies and begins by interfering with the detection of high-pitched sounds. It typically begins in the 4th decade, though the sharpest rise in prevalence occurs at ages above 80 years. People who work with a lot of background noise or in noisy environments may have difficulty understanding speech and hearing verbal instructions. An older worker is less able to tune out background noise. The onset of hearing loss is gradual and subtle. Consequently, delays in recognizing and seeking help for hearing difficulties are common. Age-related hearing loss has no known cure, and technologies such as hearing aids, cochlear implants, and assistive devices improve thresholds but do not restore hearing to normal. Whether a hearing loss is small, missing certain sounds, or large, being profoundly deaf, for example, it is important to understand and appreciate that the auditory demands for jobs are more challenging for older workers. Everyday communications, accuracy of verbal instructions, and effectiveness of auditory warning systems are all subjects of concern with workers who may have age deafness, noise deafness, or hearing loss due to aging. Therefore, workplaces need to adapt communication strategies and possibly make environmental modifications to reduce noise levels in the work environment. According to Statistics Canada, the prevalence of audiometrically measured hearing loss among Canadians aged 40 to 79 in the years 2012 to 2015 are as follows. 38% of Canadians had hearing loss at ages 40 to 59. 75% of Canadians aged 60 to 69 had audiometrically measured hearing loss, and 93% of Canadians aged 70 to 79 years had hearing loss. Medical problems. The aging process can bring about many challenges, and one of these is the impact of chronic diseases and conditions. Certain diseases occur more often in the senior population. 4 chronic diseases, namely cancer, cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, and chronic respiratory diseases, account for over 60% of all deaths in Canada. According to data from the 2016-2017 Canadian Chronic Disease Surveillance System, about 2/3, or 65.5% of seniors were living with diagnosed hypertension. Over 1/3, almost 38%, of those aged 65 and older were living with diagnosed osteoarthritis, 27% with ischemic heart disease, and 27% again with diabetes. These types of diseases and conditions can impact a worker's ability to safely complete work activities, particularly those requiring physical exertion. As an example, osteoarthritis in the knees or hips can impact a worker's ability, mobility, and ability to use proper body mechanics for tasks such as lifting and handling loads. (73% of seniors aged 65 and older had at least one of 10 chronic diseases as follows: heart disease, stroke, cancer or had cancer, have or had, asthma, COPD, diabetes, arthritis, Alzheimer's disease or other dementia, or a mood and anxiety disorder. This is the source is Dr. Tam in the 2020 report on the Government of Canada's website. Cardiovascular and respiratory systems. The ability of the heart, lungs, and circulatory system to carry oxygen decreases with age. Between the age of 30 and 65, the functional breathing capacity can reduce by 40%. These changes can affect the ability to do extended heavy physical labor and reduce the body's ability to adjust to hot and cold conditions. Sleep regulation. As we age, our body is not able to regulate sleep as well as it used to. How long a person sleeps and how well they sleep can additionally be disrupted by changing work hours or by light and noise. The impact on employees is especially a concern for older shift or night workers. They might need more recovery time between shifts or extended work days. Use of shift rotations that are the least disruptive to sleep patterns are preferred. And body temperature regulation. Our bodies are less able to maintain internal temperatures as we age and are less able to adjust to changes in external temperature or due to physical activity. This means that older workers may find heat or cold more difficult to deal with than when they were younger. It also means that if they are doing hard manual labor, they may get overheated more easily. So my alarm went off a moment ago, and that's the signal for a micro break. We are half an hour into the presentation, so I'm going to ask you to move away from your workstation and get a little bit of movement and shake out your legs, do whatever it is that you wish to do, and I'll be back with you in about 2 minutes because I'm going to do the same. Thanks. Okay, so now we're going to move into skeletal muscle changes or musculoskeletal changes. As we age, our bodies lose muscle mass. And when that muscle is gone, our strength goes with it. Studies indicate that by age 40, people lose 5% of the strength they had at age 20. By age 55, the loss has grown to 20%. However, every person is different, and this, of course, again, like everything else, ranges between individuals. Also bear in mind that most jobs do not require a person to use all their strength. And as a side note, if the job does require them to use all their strength, then this most definitely shouldn't be the case, and the employer has set themselves up for some major MSI problems eventually. Older employees may be able to perform the same tasks as a younger worker, but they may be working closer to their maximum level. Grip strength, for example, may well be impacted with age. Also, as people age, muscle tissue injured by overexertion regenerates more slowly. Similarly, there is a weakening of tendon strength over time. The musculoskeletal system weakens over time, resulting in a decreased capacity for load-bearing work. Keep in mind that For example, highly repetitive motions, doing the same thing over and over again, can cause physical problems such as MSIs at any age. But for older workers, fatigue is increased. As we age, joint stiffness increases. Water content of tendons decreases, which makes tissues stiffer and ligaments become less elastic. The result is the body loses some range of joint movement and flexibility. A worker may be used to certain range of movements at one task or workstation, but if they find themselves in unpredictable situations that require different or unusual movements, being less flexible or able to reach could cause problems, such as being forced into using unsafe body mechanics to get the job done. In general, people may find it harder to maintain good posture and balance. Static positions are primarily a function of blood flow and energy regeneration. If energy regeneration is not at optimal levels or has dropped significantly, then the ability to hold a given posture is likely lessened with age. Decreased blood flow with advancing age is well documented. Static postures are common in industries such as fish processing and manufacturing and in office work. These are some of the common work areas where workers tend to stay employed for many years and into old age in our province. Accidents that happen because someone loses their balance do happen more often with age. Falls and fall-related injuries, such as hip fractures, can have a serious impact on an aging person's life. According to CDC, Center for Disease Control, more than 1/3 of adults aged 65 and older fall each year. Work that requires precise adjustments, strong muscular effort, including lifting and carrying, joint movements at extreme angles, and work done on a slippery or unstable surface will be affected by poorer posture. Bones and cartilage. Bones become more porous with age, which makes them more prone to fractures after falls. Spinal disc degeneration is prevalent enough in older populations to be considered a normal consequence of aging. Reduced reaction time and reflexes is another change. And our energy levels also begin to flag, making it harder to keep up with the demands of the job. The heart muscle becomes less able to propel large quantities of blood quickly to the body, and this results in a decreased oxygen exchange rate, which causes workers to tire more quickly from physiological fatigue. Time to allow for physiological recovery must be more frequent for older workers. And cognitive changes. Changes in mental capacity also occur as a person ages. Learning new skills and new information becomes more difficult for most people. Older people may not think as quickly and clearly as they once did. They may take longer to learn new skills. Generally speaking, fluid intelligence, which affects response to new situations, declines in older people. This includes things such as inductive reasoning, selective attention, multitasking, and information processing. Their ability to reason and think in the abstract is reduced, as is their ability to focus on pertinent details. Multitasking becomes more challenging. Verbal tasks and vocabulary, though, like talking and expressing themselves, remain constant or actually improve with age. Tasks that depend on short-term memory usually take longer as memory is decreased and information retrieval is impaired. The ability to form new associations is impaired. This affects speed of learning. It is important to understand that older workers require a longer time to process information. However, crystallized intelligence, or acquired learning, remains available to them as older workers tend to use experience and expertise when working. They may find it hard to work with complex or confusing stimuli. This means they might find it hard to do tasks in which they have to do or think about a lot of different things quickly or at one time. Older people may also find it tricky to work in a busy environment where lots is going on. They may be less able to focus attention only on information relevant to the task at hand, especially in new situations. This means that there may be so much going on in new situations that they're less sure what to prioritize, what to pay attention to, and what to ignore. So that's 5 of the age-related changes, cognitive and physiological and physical changes that occur with age. So now we're going to turn our attention to ergonomics and protecting the aging workforce through the practice of ergonomics. Do aging workers need any special accommodations? Well, yes and no. A well-designed workplace benefits everybody. Workstations and job tasks that are matched to the needs of the individual employee are always best. Different conditions for different workers may be needed to meet the needs of an employee, not just one that is older. However, that being said, there are some things older workers may need to work safely and comfortably. Designing the workplace based on the principles of ergonomics ensures that workplaces and workstations fit the abilities and limitations of everyone, not just the aging, but the young as well. Ergonomics is the science of designing the workplace, keeping in mind the capabilities and limitations of the worker. The goal is to design jobs and tasks to remove incompatibilities between the work and the worker that hinder safe work performance. This allows you to prevent injuries, illnesses, and mistakes, and improve overall worker health and business performance. In other words, ergonomics is about fitting the work to the worker. Ergonomics offers the potential of compensating for the decrease in an individual's functional capacities that occur with age through appropriate job design. Without proper ergonomic job design, older workers could well find themselves at a disadvantage due to compromised productivity and health. When considering how to accommodate the aging workforce, it is as important as ever to match job demands to worker capabilities. Canada's population is aging. We must become more conscious of the effect this trend will have on industry and use all available knowledge in ergonomics and engineering to enhance the ability of the older employee to continue to work in an injury-free environment. For older workers, ergonomics may be a new thing. It is important to educate these workers about safer ways to conduct work activities compared to how they may have been taught years ago. New research proves that ergonomic principles work. An example, using proper body mechanics to lift and carry objects, taking breaks, rotating tasks, changing posture when possible, using any assistive devices provided, such as carts, trolleys, and dollies. So making sure that the workers understand the importance of these things and how it will help their body. Ergonomically correct design accounts for workers from the 5th percentile female to the 95th percentile male. By designing jobs and tasks with aging workers in mind, you're making the jobs and tasks safer and more productive for everyone. So follow these basic ergonomic principles to accommodate the chronologically gifted workforce. Work in neutral postures. Working with the body in a neutral position reduces stress and strain on your musculoskeletal system. Provide ergonomically designed seating. Effective lumbar support is an essential feature of an office chair. Arm rests are doubly important for the older worker, not only for support of forearms during work, but also as an assist in rising from the chair. Easily operated controls encourage workers to adjust the fit and support to individual needs. Keep everything within easy reach. Most frequently accessed items should be located so that they can be accessed with the elbows remaining at the body sides. Infrequently accessed items should be within arm's reach. Work at proper heights. Work from the power zone. The power zone is also referred to as the handshake zone. This is an easy way to remember the optimal location to perform work. So mount shelving at an appropriate height. Shelving that is too high or too low compromises sound lifting mechanics and increases the chance of injury. Positioning high reach shelves a little lower and low reach shelves a little higher can reduce risk. Reduce excessive force. Provide mechanical handling equipment to minimize manual handling of loads. Have a good grip. Providing power grips instead of pinch grips for jobs and tasks is another ergonomics control to help accommodate aging workers. Reduce excessive motions. Powered tools, for example, should be used rather than manual tools for very repetitive work. Minimize sustained postures. Your body's musculoskeletal or movement system is designed to move. Arrange workstations and tasks to allow for changing postures. Minimize contact stress. The right size tool for the hand is important. In computer work, the work surface should be at the proper height to avoid supporting the arms against the edge of a table or desk. Move, exercise, and stretch. Encourage breaks in work routine. In office work, for example, short stretch breaks, once or twice an hour, disrupt the repetitive arm, wrist, and finger motions of typing and mousing. Promote exercise. Exercise stimulates growth of muscle tissue and bone density. Some companies provide incentives for workers to be physically active. For example, they provide access to exercise facilities or reimbursement for some or all of the costs of fitness center memberships. Maintain a comfortable environment. Provide good lighting. Make sure work areas are properly lit, as the amount of light needed to see increases, as does the time to adjust to glare. Ensure thermal comfort. Control noise. Control vibration. Following these ergonomics principles will significantly reduce ergonomic risk factors that contribute to MSIs among aging workers, but also among younger workers too. So let's now just circle back to the age-related changes discussed in the wheel earlier and look at some more control measures to accommodate these specific changes. Visual changes. So some controls would be regular eye exams. So maybe the employer providing some insurance coverage or an insurance program, benefits program for regular eye exams and prescription glasses where needed. For those who work with equipment and experience a loss of visual acuity at short distances, safety glasses can be provided with bifocal lenses, offering both protection and the ability to see more clearly. At the very least, provide safety eyewear that accommodates the comfortable wearing of prescription glasses. Ensure a proper workstation setup to accommodate the type of eyewear and discourage poor body mechanics. Have lighting assessed periodically to ensure that there is appropriate and adequate light being provided for the tasks at hand. Any requirement for speed or accuracy also increase the need for illumination without glare. Some options include using indirect ambient lighting, hiding intense light sources from direct view, reducing glare from sunlight with shades and awnings, putting carpets over polished or tile floors, and minimizing glass display cases and other reflective surfaces. Older workers are slower to adapt to light and dark, so light should be kept at similar levels from one area to another in the workplace. Facilities personnel should also be cautious in using reflective paints that could cause glare. In the office environment, provide adjustable task lighting, such as what's shown in the picture. Provide high contrast between text and background, such as on equipment where readings must be taken or monitored. Use larger type size or larger font in instructional materials. Reduce glare, as mentioned previously. Ensure good housekeeping practices in the workplace where there is little clutter as possible to avoid slips, trips, and falls. And consider using reflective tape for depth perception. Hearing changes. So some controls would be providing hearing protection to prevent further hearing loss, arranging for hearing tests to screen for hearing loss, encouraging workers to use their hearing aids and devices as they need them, control noise in work areas, employ sound masking techniques to dampen background noise. Make sure to give any verbal instructions in a quiet location with minimal background noise, and develop written safe work procedures for workers to review to ensure that they understand the instructions. Controls for the medical changes. Many common chronic diseases are preventable or manageable. Osteoarthritis, for example, the most common form of arthritis, cannot be cured, but interventions, including lifestyle modifications, can reduce pain, improve function, and in some instances, delay the progression of the disease. Researchers suggest that many factors associated with aging are due to physical inactivity, and that performing physical activity can help to reduce or reverse the risk of disability and chronic disease. In addition to physical inactivity, other personal lifestyle or behavioral risk factors for developing chronic diseases include unhealthy eating, tobacco use, and harmful use of alcohol. These factors can influence an individual's aging process. Stress awareness and adequacy of sleep are two more factors that have an influence on the aging process. Workplaces can help through the implementation of health promotion initiatives, such as educating workers about the influence that personal lifestyle behaviors have on their health and the aging process. Providing incentives for workers to be physically active, encouraging an active living. In 2016-2017, only 17% of adults aged 40 to 59 years and 17% again of adults aged 60 to 79 years met the recommended guidelines for physical activity in Canada. In 2017-18, 40.1% of seniors aged 65 and older reported a body mass index, or BMI, in the overweight category, and 28.1% reported a BMI in the obese category. We're a very physically inactive country. Canadian physical activity guidelines for adults groups aged 18 to 64 years and 65 plus are essentially the same, an accumulation of at least 150 minutes of moderate, vigorous aerobic physical activity per week, and muscle strengthening activities using major muscle groups at least twice a week. In addition, though, for the 65 plus age group, physical activities that challenge balance should also be added. Workplaces can also help foster healthy lifestyle behaviors by offering smoking cessation programs or incentives, by encouraging healthy eating. Many seniors aren't eating enough fruits and vegetables. Healthy options in the workplace cafeteria is a good way to promote healthy eating. Provide suitable work schedules for older workers so sleep can be better regulated. Consistent schedules, perhaps night shifts avoided for older workers. 46.8% of Canadians aged 65 plus in the years 2007 to 2015 reported trouble sleeping. The guideline for sleep for adults aged 18 to 64 is 7 to 9 hours of good quality sleep per night. And for those aged 65 plus years, it's 7 to 8 hours sleep, good quality sleep per night. Also, workplaces could have violence and harassment prevention programs and EAP programs, employee assistance programs, to promote physiological health and provide support to manage stress. Body temperature. Provide flexibility for workers to take breaks and micro breaks frequently. Ensure appropriate clothing for work. Control external temperature. Have temperature regulated so workers aren't needing to regularly adjust to temperature changes in the workplace. Provide mechanical handling aids to reduce physical exertion. In hot and humid environments, you can have fans or air conditioning available. Have your workers wear light, loose-fitted clothing. Have them take more frequent rest breaks. Have them drink cold beverages and have water readily available to them. Allow flexibility to permit less physically demanding activities during peak temperature periods. Use screens or umbrellas to create shade. In cold environments, clothing should be selected to suit the temperature and weather conditions, for example, wind speed and rain. the level and duration of the activity, and the job design. Balanced meals and adequate liquid intake, water intake, are essential to maintain body heat and prevent dehydration. Eat properly and frequently. Working in the cold requires more energy than in warm weather because the body is working to keep the body warm. It requires more effort to work when wearing bulky clothing and winter boots, especially when walking through snow. Muscle strength and flexibility. Provide mechanical handling aids wherever possible to avoid repetitive or heavy manual handling. Keep equipment in good working condition and provide training. Optimal storage height for loads is important. Where work is not currently self-paced, consider engineering modifications to be able to self-pace the work. Perhaps reduce the speed of an assembly line to have a reasonable pace of work. Set up work areas and tasks to avoid using awkward postures or joint angles at extreme magnitudes. Use tools designed to reduce strength output. For example, suspend heavy tools or use powered tools to minimize force. Ensure task variety. Review how work is organized in order to avoid overuse of specific muscle groups. Again, provide opportunities for staff to maintain a healthy fitness level and to be able to take frequent breaks and micro breaks. Stretches to improve posture and range of motion is important. A tight ankle or calf muscle can make someone more likely to fall, so encourage stretching. Ensure warm-ups before physical work to help prepare the body for the work that's about to unfold. Warming up the body increases blood flow to the soft tissues, which we know with age, blood flow declines. So warming up is particularly important for the aging workforce, and it also helps to prepare the muscles then for the work at hand because muscles are more coordinated and posture is improved. Reduce the total amount of static standing in the workplace. Provide options for the worker to sit or lean using a leaning stool, ideally to sit or to stand. Provide options to change postures and move throughout the workday. Posture and balance. Ensure that slippery and unstable environments are controlled. Provide appropriate footwear for the work environment, making sure that they have good grip and as well good shock absorbing soles or insoles to take some of the stress off of the spine from standing work. Design tasks to accommodate neutral posture and require minimal use of awkward postures. Make sure that tools, equipment, and supplies are in suitable locations. Design tasks and jobs such that minimal static postures are required. Again, options to sit, stand, and move. Reaction time and speed. Research indicates that age-related decline in performance, if any, is most attributable to the declining ability to manage or coordinate multiple tasks. This is more pronounced when task complexity is higher, tasks are unfamiliar, or time demands are short. Older adults allocate attention differently than younger adults. To accommodate probable age-related differences in the performance of multiple tasks, ensure workers are provided sufficient time for training and practice. Allow for longer response time. Provide additional practice to increase familiarity. Periodic refresher training can also help sharpen skills. Research also suggests that performance is further improved if the task performance order is flexible, meaning that the worker can decide in what order to perform tasks without penalty. Recall how older workers have much more experience than younger workers, and they apply previously learned skills to current situations. This may actually help compensate for any slowing and enable the older worker to produce comparable performance with younger workers, a study suggests. We must be mindful, however, of the fact that when the job demands exceed the older worker's capacity, they may compensate by using increased physical effort or taking fewer rest periods to complete the task in a timely manner. Therefore, matching work demands and pace to the capabilities of the worker can help prevent this situation. Give workers frequent reinforcement of task variety and reduce the need for them to simultaneously perform multiple tasks, or design the system to be operated with low sensitivity to task order. Okay, so that is the alarm for our last micro break. So I'm just going to park it right here before we get into cognition, and I'll be back with you in 2 minutes. Okay, so now let's look at controls for cognitive changes. Training requirements may be different for older workers. Since learning is based on previous experience, training may need to be more practical based for the aging worker. Design learning activities to provide maximum opportunity for participants to bring their knowledge and experience to the learning environment. Explain new skills in a way that fits into what they already know. Older workers need justification and logic behind the information, so explain why they're doing what they're doing. Training may take longer than with younger workers. The pace of your presentation in training situations may need to be adjusted, as there may need to be more assistance provided or practice given. However, several studies suggest that there may not be a difference in how well someone works once the learning curve has been reached. Everyone, regardless their age, thinks and learns differently. These cognitive functions are very dependent on the individual and the experiences they have had during their lifetime. People who have had a lot of training or education over their lifetime, or who have had to carry out a variety of tasks, are experienced learners. They are typically able to learn new skills well and improve the ones they have with ease. Those who may be more resistant to learning as an older adult include those who have little formal training or who have carried out relatively simple or repetitive tasks for many years. They are used to doing the same thing the same way and may find it more challenging to take in new information or ways of doing things. So now I have 3, I guess, questions, but I'm not really asking the questions to you, just kind of giving you an opportunity to think about it, and I will give you the answers. So the first question to think about or consider is, older workers are less productive. Would you think that's true or false? Is it reality or a myth? The answer is it's a myth. There's no significant overall difference between the job performance of older and younger workers. Productivity is individual and varies more within an age group than between age groups. Look at training, responsibility, and dedication. Older workers are unwilling or unable to adapt to new technologies or learn new skills. Reality or myth? Older workers are unwilling or unable to adapt to new technologies or learn new skills. The answer is it's a myth. There's no significant overall difference. Oops, wrong one. Age does not determine curiosity or willingness to learn. Older workers generally recognize the need for continuous learning. And finally, younger workers are a better investment than older workers. Reality or myth? Younger workers are a better investment than older workers. The answer is it's a myth. All workers are a good investment and need to upgrade skills on an ongoing basis. Older workers tend to be loyal and less likely to change jobs frequently. We need to appreciate the effort of all workers. So now we have come to the end of the webinar, and to summarize, there are some key takeaways from today's presentation. The demographics of the Canadian workforce are changing. The matured baby boom generation, still actively employed, brings to the workforce more older people than ever before. Older workers are valuable workers and represent a large proportion of your organization's knowledge and skill. At what age is a worker considered an older worker? The aging process is a very individual thing. For some, there is a marked decline in physical abilities in the 30s, but for others, it's a lot longer than that. We are less concerned about the age and more concerned about the worker's abilities and limitations. Aging in today's world doesn't mean having to retire before age 60 or 65. It does mean taking care of your body to continue working. We know that as we age, physical and cognitive changes will inevitably occur in all of us. Acknowledging both sensory and musculoskeletal differences in older workers means adapting the workplace to offer them as much comfort and safety as possible. It means encouraging ergonomically sound ways of working. The ergonomics process removes barriers to safe work performance, prevents injuries, and improves business performance by accommodating the abilities and limitations of workers. Designing jobs and tasks for aging workers benefits all, and younger workers will continue to benefit from an ergonomically designed workplace as their generations mature. So here is a list of upcoming webinars. We still have a couple more occurring this week during Move Well, Work Well week, and I meant to mention at the beginning of the presentation, but did forget that Made Safe NL, in support of Move Well, Work Well week, is also hosting a webinar this week, and it's happening tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. It's called MSI Hazard Recognition, Evaluation, and Control. So Made Safe NL is the safety sector for manufacturing and processing industries. And that webinar is going to talk about controls specifically to those industries. If you are interested in that webinar, you would need to register on Made Safe NL's website, and Tina has popped the link into the chat box there. Thank you so much, Tina, for that. And I should mention as well that that Made Safe WorkplaceNL webinar is being co-facilitated with WorkplaceNL too. As well, tomorrow we have MSI tips for a healthy workday happening 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. And all of these webinars posted on the slide are ones that are hosted by WorkplaceNL, and you would register via WorkplaceNL's website. Friday, we have computers and mobile computing devices, MSI prevention tips. And then on the 28th, creating a harassment prevention plan. And the 29th, education and training, a safe and competent workforce. To sign up to our newsletter to receive emails about upcoming workshops and webinars, click on the View All Events button on the bottom right-hand corner of our main page of our website, WorkplaceNL.ca. And then you'll come to this screen and you click here to subscribe to our newsletter. Just a reminder to complete your evaluation at the end of the webinar here. And I thank you everybody for attending today. If you would like to contact me with any questions, there's no questions been posted yet in the chat box, but if you do have something that you think about after the webinar is over, by all means give me a call or email me at 778-1124 or cherylee.osborne@workplacenl.ca as listed on the screen. No questions? Okay, thanks everybody for attending. Enjoy the rest of your day and be safe. Happy Move Well, Work Well week.